Hi, I'm Andrew with Flair, and today I would like to introduce you to the Flair 58X. If you love the bigger portafilter, improved ergonomics, and the faster workflow that the 58 ushered in, but long for the cord-free aesthetic or the all-manual process of the original line of Flair espresso makers, this is a Flair for you. The Flair 58 and the 58X function exactly the same when it comes to pulling the shot. The only real difference is how you get the brewing components up to temperature. Whereas on the 58, you have an electric assist dry preheating, with the 58X, you're kicking it old school with water or steam. One thing to note, you can upgrade to the electronics of the Flair 58 at a later time, but in order to do so, in addition to a controller and power supply, a completely new brewing cylinder with the heating element installed is required. For this reason, choosing to upgrade later on will cost you roughly twice the difference in the retail price between the 58X and the 58. Just like with the 58, you'll receive a preheat cap that can be installed at the base for a fill and dump preheat using water off boil. In addition, you'll also receive an open cap to be used for steam preheats in conjunction with a kettle. This is our favorite method, as it is the most effective, hands-free, and unattended solution. And it promises the highest starting temperatures, but best of all, no wasted water. If you prefer the fill and dump method, be aware that the best results require 2 or more consecutive fills, particularly if you're brewing a lighter roasted coffee. Start with the stem out during the fill, but install it loosely in place while soaking the brew cylinder to ensure it too heats up along with the cylinder. Allow the water and the cylinder to reach thermal equilibrium before any subsequent soaks. We'll be demonstrating with the steam preheat today, using the open cap. Set your kettle to boil to ensure steam generation. Slide the cap on top, remove the lid, and replace it with the brewing cylinder. Using the cap protects the finish on your kettle, as well as acts as a seal to keep the steam from escaping from the sides, condensing into liquid, and streaming down the side of your kettle. Fit the stem loosely in place, leaning over, leaving a gap for the steam to exit. Filter baskets are thin constructs, and when clipped into the portafilter, there will be an air gap all around, preventing conduction between the two thermal masses. For this reason, we can generally get away without having to bring the portafilter all the way up to brewing temperature. And besides, we can't safely prep a basket and portafilter that's hot. Nonetheless, it's a good practice to use steam or a stream of hot water from the kettle to warm it up before prepping it for the shot. Now, while we leave that to heat up, we can focus on preparing the portafilter. You'll find everything you need to brew tasty espresso comes included in the box. In addition to what was already covered, you'll receive a drip tray, a tamper, portafilter, and a filter basket that will work with a range of doses from 16 to 22 grams. Now, if you find yourself with too much headspace or not enough when using your desired amount of coffee, you can swap in any standard 58mm basket from third parties that best suits your preferences. The nice thing about standards is that if we want to bring other tools into our workflow, such as calibrated tampers or levelers, we can easily source them from third parties. Our favorite aftermarket tool, though, is one we can make ourselves for a few dollars or purchase a polished version for just a few dollars more. This is what's referred to as a Weiss distribution tool, and its main function is to ensure we have our coffee distributed well across the filter basket prior to delivering a level and firm tamp. This step avoids locking in any density issues that could result from having more coffee piled up in one place than another, which would leave you with a bed that offers more resistance to flow where higher densities are found. Density issues can lead to uneven extraction, with localized areas under-extracting at the same time other areas are over-extracting. I'll start with inserting the wires deep into the basket and making small circles, moving into the center as I go around. And on my second pass, I'm going to go ahead and slowly lift up on those wires. And then after that, I'm going to go north to south, east to west, and just try to make sure with a shallow rake that I'm getting all those grounds well and leveled. And after that, I'll take another look just to make sure that I did a good job of distributing those coffee grounds. And if I need to move it around a little bit more, I'll go ahead and do that first. As mentioned earlier, delivering a level and firm tamp is the main goal when it comes to tamping. Pushing down until we fill the coffee bed, pushing back, as well as the table, is as far as we need to go with that. I like to use my fingers around the sides of the rim just to ensure that I'm getting a nice and level tamp. If for some reason it doesn't look good to me, I can always make some small adjustments. There's no harm here. Once you're satisfied with your puck prep, you can opt to place a paper filter or a puck screen on top of the coffee to promote the most even dispersion of water across the surface, as well as to prevent any coffee material from passing up through the fixed dispersion screen and into the brewing cylinder, which ultimately necessitates more frequent cleaning. A pack of 58 to 60 millimeter paper filters can be purchased for a few dollars, and this puck screen is available as a separate purchase from Flair's web store. Now it's time to install the brewing cylinder onto the brew base. This step should be put off until just before we're ready to lock in the portafilter, so we're not wasting any thermal energy stored up in the brew chamber. Remove the stem, lift the brew cylinder, and remove the cap. Align the lobes here with the openings here, and rotate counterclockwise until you hear and feel it click. There is a little play here, but that is by design to ensure we are able to click in and click out quickly without the use of any tools. The next step is to lock in the portafilter. Start with the handle pointing at 6 o'clock. And while ensuring that it's nice and level, we'll turn it till it's nice and snug at 4 o'clock. Make sure you have your glass in position to catch the espresso, and if you're using a scale, that it is turned on, ready to track weight and time. We're going to go ahead and fill up our brew chamber until the water is entered into the well. That way we know we don't have any air left trapped in the system there. And take our stem, turn it into position, engage the hook. We're going to do a little bit of a pre-infusion first. At about 1 to 2 bars, just going to get some water in there and saturate the puck entirely. I'm just going to hold that till I see a couple drips like this. And right about here, I'm going to go ahead and push into 7 bars of pressure. And again, remember we're looking for about 45 grams out in the cup in about 27 seconds. So I'm watching my time, I'm watching my grams, and I'll make adjustments as needed. I'm also backing off the force on the lever just a little bit to ensure that as the flow increases, I can kind of stabilize that. So here we are coming up in our 45. I'm going to go ahead and lift the lever back up. And this right here makes sure that I can pull off the pull out the cup, I should say, without having drips coming out. So we put our purge cup there. We're going to go ahead and drop the lever back down. This is making sure that any water that we didn't use for the shot, we can purge back out of the system so that we can take our portafilter back out and not have water splash out on the counter. We'll just keep pushing that down slowly, not too much force. We don't want the water to spray around. And we'll just keep going to the bottom. And at that point, we should probably hear a little bit of air coming through after that last drip. If you don't see or hear the air coming through, it wouldn't be a bad idea to just go ahead and give it another little push. This way we have a nice dry puck, because dry pucks are a lot easier to knock out. And at that point, I can hear the air, so I know that I don't have any water left in the system. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my knockbox now, and I'll go ahead and unlock this and take it out. So we have the puck screen here, and our options are to either let this cool off so I can pull it out with my fingers, or I like to take a little chance, flip it over and let it fall out. Usually that works well. Then I can go ahead and knock that out nice and dry. So at this point, if I'm going to go ahead and brew for somebody else, I want to retain the heat that I have in this portafilter. So I'm not going to rinse this underwater. I'm just going to take a dry towel, and I'm going to make sure that I get any moisture that's left in there, any coffee grounds out, and then that way I can go ahead and prep that basket for another shot. If you know you're going to be pulling back-to-back shots for somebody else in the house, or if you like a quad, you might want to buy yourself another portafilter, or at least just another basket. That way I can have that already ground out. The coffee's already ready prepped, and I'm just going to move this into position. I can lift this back up, and then again, unlock and fill this again. If I do this quick enough, I won't have to actually pull this off and preheat it again. But of course, it doesn't take that long to snap it out, put it over here, preheat it again. But again, if you have a quick workflow, and particularly if you already have another portafilter prepped and ready to go, or another basket at least, you can probably just get away without having to do a separate preheat. When it comes to maintenance and cleaning, if we used a puck screen or a paper filter, we would not expect to find a reason to clean the inside of the chamber too often, but after a few weeks, we might want to check to see if there's anything to wipe out. You can use the stem to pull the plunger out as I did without taking the brew chamber off the base. And we can wipe this out with a paper towel. We can flush some water in there with a cup or a bowl underneath just to make sure that we clean this area out, keep it performing well. As far as the need to use soaps or detergents, generally speaking, just rinsing and wiping is going to do the job. If you feel the need to do that though, make sure you're finding something that is engineered for coffee equipment, just so that it won't leave behind any residues, off taste, but also generally speaking with the silicone and the gaskets and the O-rings there, sometimes using the wrong product with them can cause them to get a little degraded and a little bit of a gummy feel to it. So just make sure if you go to the point of using any type of products that you source the right ones. Every couple months or so, we might remove these O-rings, wipe them down, as well as the grooves they sit in. Afterwards, we can lightly lubricate the O-rings to keep the plunger sliding effortlessly inside. A food grade lubricant or a light flavorless cooking oil can be used on these O-rings. Just wipe the excess back off after reinstalling. And that's brewing with the Flair 58X. If you want to see what it's like to brew with one of our other models, select the corresponding thumbnail. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.